Nice to see everyone. Nice to see the Stearns here for the first time in a long, long time. Glad you're here. Welcome, all of you. Okay, deep breath. At least I'm dry today, that's right. Last night, about half an hour before the service started out in the tent, the sprinklers came on. And the one sprinkler that was about 3 feet behind me just blasted me right in the back of the head. So it was fun. But big deep breath, settle in, sing a little bit, get warmed up, welcome Shabbat. Song of Shabbat, Mizmor Shir, Yom HaShabbat, Mizmor Shir, Yom HaShabbat, Tov lehodot l'Adonai uzamer l'shimcha. Elyon, Tov lehodot l'Adonai uzamer l'shimcha. Elyon, Mizmor Shir l'Yom HaShabbat. Mizmor Shir l'Yom HaShabbat. To give thanks, to sing praise and sing songs to your name, Holy One. It's good to give thanks, to give praise and sing songs to your name, Holy One. Mizmor Shir l'Yom HaShabbat. Come, let us sing a song of Shabbat. Come, let us sing a song of Shabbat. So once again, Shabbat Shalom, good morning. Turn around, look at the people around you. Where it's up to you how comfortable you are, like shaking hands or whatever, but wish each other a Shabbat Shalom. Nice to see you all here. And lovely to have those of you who are joining us online, whether you are watching on the Temple website or on Facebook. Thanks for joining us this morning. My name's Steve Brodsky. I'm the Cantorial Soloist and Music Director here at Temple. And you get just me this morning. July is the month when all of the clergy tries to squeeze in a tiny little bit of vacation. And so this week, Rabbi Hyatt is on vacation, and Rabbi Black and Cantor Sachs are running the, already did a bar mitzvah this morning and are now doing, in a few minutes, a bat mitzvah out in the tent. So I'm happy to be here with you this morning. Let's get started. As we welcome this beautiful Shabbat, we read responsively. Calm or wind, cloud or sun, warm or cool, it's God's morning, a gift, a promise. A bird gliding on a breeze, singing ancient songs that need no translation. A ray of secret light stored for this very moment since the beginning of time. Together, let us rejoice. Let us sing. Let us tremble with love while the artist paints the sky and the hills, the seas and the plains with the colors of majesty. It's God's morning, sent as a reminder to love and to hope, sent as a reminder to celebrate the glory of creation. We join together in Matovu. Matovu, ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Matovu, ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Vani berov chazdecha avo v'techa eshtachaveh el heichal kodshecha Yisrael. Matovu, ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Vani tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon Elohim berov chazdecha aneni be'emet yishecha. Matovu, ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Matovu, ohalecha Yaakov, ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. We start out on Shabbat morning by sort of checking in with all the basics of ourselves. We begin with our bodies. Asher Yatzar. We join together. This is an amazing life, a gift of moments precious and dear, profound in joy, profound in sorrow. This is an amazing life, a gift of moments glorious and holy, rich in laughter, rich in tears. This is an amazing life, a gift beyond imagination, fantastic stories of solitude and adventure, tales of darkness and light, psalms of frailty and endurance, poetry written in time and motion, in stillness and silence, in shouts and whispers, in mourning and wondrous celebration. This is an amazing life, a river of blessings, a gift to cherish in awe and wonder. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh chol basar umafli la'asot. Blessed are the gifts of life. Blessed is the giver of life. Blessed is this amazing life. One of the things that I appreciate so much about our Saturday morning community is the willingness to try new music. And we, for a long, long time, have been singing the same melody for Elohai, Elohai, neshama, neshama, shenatata bi. I love it. It's beautiful. And I love the way that the Nisim b'chol yom, the blessings for everyday miracles, mash up with this acknowledgement that not only are we physical beings, but we are spiritual beings, and that the soul that God has endowed each of us with is pure, and that each day as we awaken, our soul has been refreshed and restored and renewed, and we're ready to go out into the world and do good things. I came across a new melody, which I then adapted, as we love to do around here, and mashed up the Nisim b'chol yom. Here's the thing. It's so new that I can't remember it at the moment. So I'm going to play like 2 seconds of it just to remind myself. There we go. That's all I need. This is a new melody for Elohai Neshama by our friend Andy Denon, my friend, Bob's friend, Andy Denon. Wonderful musician, songwriter, cantorial soloist from the Chicago area. So we'll sing it through a couple times, and I think you'll pick it up quickly. Elohai Neshama Shenatata bi, Elohai Neshama Tehorahi. Try that. Elohai Neshama Shenatata bi, Elohai Neshama Tehorahi. The thing I love about this melody is that it adds the second part. Ata barata, ata yitzarta, ata nefachta bi, ve'ata mishamra bikirbi. You created my soul, you shaped it, you breathed it into me, and within me you protected. Ata birata, ata yitzarta, ata nefachta bi, ve'ata mishamra bikirbi. Let's try that. Ata birata, ata yitzarta, ata nefachta bi, Ve'ata mishamra bikirbi, Elohai Neshama Shenatata bi, Elohai Neshama Tehorahi. Then what I did is I took a melody that I wrote for something completely different, a set of Havdalah blessings, and applied it here to the Nisim b'chol yom. So it goes like this. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who opens the eyes of the blind, who frees the captive, who lifts up the fallen. Elohai Neshama Shenatata bi, Elohai Neshama Tehorahi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who stretches the earth over the waters, who strengthens our steps, who clothes the naked, who gives strength to the weary. Elohai Neshama Shenatata bi, Elohai Neshama Tehorahi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, who made me in the image of God, who has made me free, who has made me a Jew, who girds Israel with strength, who crowns Israel with splendor. Elohai neshama shenatata bi. Elohai neshama tehorahi. We take a moment now to offer our own blessings. These everyday miracles, nisim b'chol yom, things that we would often not even stop to recognize are happening around us. So we take a moment. And if you have a blessing that you'd like to offer for something that's happened this past week, please feel free.
Island of Seattle's coast, having spent a week with 3 friends in a house designed by her daughter on the water.
That was amazing. Amen. You don't have to sing it if you don't want to. You can just say it. That was very brave, Bob. I'm amazed. I'm having a hard time remembering the song, so. If you're online and watching, feel free to type your blessing into the chat. Even though we can't see it here in the room, you'll be sharing it with everyone else who is joining us. I want to give a blessing, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, for new challenges, new endeavors, and for seeing a lot of wonderful faces again that we haven't seen in a long time. Big deep breath. Elohai neshama shenatata bi. Elohai neshama tehorahi. Ata birata, ata yitzarta, ata nefachta bi. Ve'ata mishamra bekirbi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi. Elohai neshama tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi. Elohai neshama tehorahi. Thank you for being game for something new. So we've covered, I'm sorry? We've covered our physical selves, we've covered our spiritual selves, and now we turn to our intellectual selves, the third part that makes us human, that makes us who we are. We give thanks for our minds, for the ability to study Torah, to learn from Torah, to immerse ourselves in words of Torah. Let's join together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage with words of Torah. So we continue to work our way through this wonderful book. Every day, holy day, 365 days of teachings and practices from the Jewish tradition of Musar. And I've lost track of how many weeks we have been spending on this. A couple of years now. We're working our way through, and we have been looking recently at the value of faith. And this is the fifth teaching under the topic of faith. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter teaches, the truth is that there is no essential difference between the natural and the miraculous. Everything that occurs is a miracle. The world has no other cause but the will of God. Just let that sink in for a minute. Two things really strike me about this. The first is that we just finished Nisim B'chol Yom, the blessings that we say that cause us to stop and recognize the miraculous things that happen around us every day, right? Things that, how many of us were up when the sun rose this morning at whatever, 6:02 a.m., I don't know. It happens every day. And, it's not part of my daily routine to get up and watch the sunrise and realize what a miracle that is, right? That there's this ball of gas out there in space that's just close enough. Sometimes it feels like it's a little too close when it's 104 degrees, but it's just close enough to warm our planet, but not so far away that we freeze, right? And, whether you call it intelligent design or whatever you want to call it, the idea that we recognize miracles around us all the time, and that everything, what Salanter is saying here is that everything is a miracle. Just the fact that I'm making noise out of my mouth and your ears are hearing the sound and making sense of it, right? Because you have a brain and neural pathways and all, it's just mind-blowing how miraculous that is. And the second thing that this made me think of was Abraham Joshua Heschel talked about this idea of radical amazement and how it's our job as Jews to go through life in a state of radical amazement, just all the time being awed and blown away and bowled over by the miraculousness of everything around us, and essentially the fact that God is at work in all of it, right? And that's, I think, what Salanter is saying here. The world has no other cause but the will of God. And this idea of faith, of having that faith and recognizing that God is at work in all of these little daily miracles that happen around us all the time. We get caught up in our stuff, our daily routine, and I have to be here, and I have to do that, and I have to go here and do that, and whatever. It's easy to forget. So built into our worship is this moment that sort of forces us to stop and think about it and look around and go, wow, that's pretty cool. Thanks, God. What do you think? Any thoughts? Any ideas? Our phrase for this teaching of faith, and I mentioned this last week, and it stuck with me. I think it's funny. Rabbi Hyatt pointed out to me that the word cleave is a word that we don't use often. And on the one hand, it means to hold tight to something, and at the same time, the same word means to tear something apart, right? English, the English language. But our phrase, let's read together. Cleave to the one and be whole. In our practice, say the phrase, God willing, before undertaking any action, large or small. Take a moment to stop and recognize that God is at work. God is around us at every moment. And we should be radically amazed by that all the time. Let's join together once again. O Adonai, our God, let the words of Torah be sweet in our mouths and the mouths of your people Israel, so that we, our descendants, and the descendants of all your people Israel may know you by studying your Torah for its own sake. Baruch atah Adonai hamilamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. Blessed are you, Adonai, who teaches Torah to your people Israel. We'll continue with Psalm 150. Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah bekodsho. Hallelujah birkiauzo. Hallelujah bigurotav. Hallelujah kero good Lord. Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah, b'teik hashofar. Hallelujah, b'nevel v'chinor. Hallelujah, b'tofu machol. Hallelujah, b'minim ve'ugav. Hallelujah. 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 B'tziltzilei shama. Hallelujah. B'tziltzilei trua. Kol hanshama tehalleluya. Kol hanshama tehalleluya. Hallelujah. 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 So we're warmed up. We've gone through all the preliminaries. We're ready to talk to God. I invite you to rise as you are able, either physically or spiritually. And we join together in Baruch Hu, our call to worship. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of light and darkness, who makes peace and fashions all things. In mercy, you illumine the world and those who live upon it. In your goodness, you daily renew creation. Let's read together. How numerous are your works, Adonai. In wisdom you formed them all, filling the earth with your creatures. Be praised, Adonai, our God, for the excellent work of your hands, and for the lights you created. May they glorify you. Shine a new light upon Zion, that we all may swiftly merit its radiance. Praised are you, Adonai, creator of all heavenly lights. Baruch atah Adonai, yotzer hameorot. Love your neighbor as yourself, you said. And light blinded, we saw that inner and outer worlds are one, as you are one. You spoke and we wrote. We reached for you down the centuries, your light moving before us as we climbed, fell back, and climbed again, your Sinai of life. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava. Praise be to you, Adonai, who chooses your people Israel in love. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one, and we will know that you are one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. You can be seated. Love Adonai with all your heart, all your soul and with all your might. Take these words that I command you this day and keep them in your heart when you lie down, when you rise up, when you're home, and when you're far away. When you lie down, when you rise up, teach them to your children every day. Bind them as a sign on your hand. Keep them as a symbol between your eyes. Write them on your doorposts. Inscribe them on your gates. Keep them in your heart so that you will remember. When you lie down, when you rise up, when you're home, and when you're far away. When you lie down, when you rise up, teach them to your children every day. Ani Adonai, Ani Adonai, Ani Adonai Elohechem. When you lie down, when you rise up, when you're home, and when you're far away. When you lie down, when you rise up, teach them to your children every day. When you lie down, when you rise up, when you're home, and when you're far away. When you lie down, when you rise up, teach them to your children every day. When you lie down, when you rise up. Majestic sovereign, source of awe and wonder, when did you decide, staying on topic here, to make daily miracles so simple, so gentle, so quiet, and so small? Did our fear of your voice echoing from the mountaintop push you away? Or was this your plan all along? To show us your glory in fire and smoke, in the parted sea, in the darkness and in the light, and then to draw away so that we would yearn for you to be near, so that we would yearn for your power and might, for your holiness and for your salvation? Or are you waiting patiently to return again with signs and with wonders? We take ourselves back in history, in our story, to this moment when we stood at the shores of the Red Sea and a great miracle happened and we moved from slavery to freedom. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, God who is like you among all the gods that are worshipped. Ya Elai, 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 Ya Elai, 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 Elai. ya lai la lai lai ya lai 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 ya lai 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 ya lai 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 mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh Nora tehilot osef eleh Nora tehilot osef eleh Shira chadasha shirechu geulim L'shimcha al sfat hayam Yachad kulam hodu V'himlichu ve'amru Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed Yai lai 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 Yai lai 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 yai lai 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 yai lai 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 Sur Yisrael, Rock of Israel, rise in support of Israel and redeem Judah and Israel as you promised. Our Redeemer, Adonai Tzevaot, is your name. Blessed are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Gaal Yisrael. We come now to the Amidah, which means the standing prayer, also known as the Tefillah, which means the prayer, sort of with a capital P. It's also called the Shemona Esrei because on weekdays, anyone know what Shemona Esrei means? 18, because how many blessings are in this section of the service? 19, exactly. Makes perfect sense. But we rise as we are able. Adonai sifatai tivtach ufi yagid tehilatecha Adonai sifatai tivtach ufi yagid tehilatecha Open up my lips and let my mouth declare your praises. Adonai sifatai tivtach ufi yagid tehilatecha Adonai sifatai tivtach ufi yagid tehilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imahot Umevi Geula Livnei V'Nehem L'Ma'an Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל החיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ורחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור. הללויה, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לעולם לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. You can be seated. We'll take just a moment for silent prayer, the prayers of our own hearts. Move away from the words that you see on the screen for a few moments. And each of us can pray the prayers that we need to say. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. We arrive now at Seder Kriyat HaTorah, the service for the reading of the Torah. I invite you all to rise as you are able as we take the Torah out of the ark. Yalla la 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 yalla la 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 yalla la 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 yalla la yalla la yalla la 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 yalla la 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 yalla la 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 yalla la yalla la yalla la 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 yalla la 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 yalla la 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 yalla la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 kiva moed kiva moed kiva moed kiva moed. Just a few words about our Torah portion for this week. We talked at length in Torah study about this particular incident that happens in this Torah portion, and we'll get into that a little bit in a moment. We are almost near the end of the book of Numbers. This week is a double portion, Matot-Mas'ei, because of the way the Jewish calendar works. We have to stay on track, so sometimes we double up and read two Torah portions in a particular week. And these are the last two portions in the book of Numbers. The story of Numbers that we've been reading throughout the book of Numbers is amazing. All these incredible things happen. There's plagues, and there's the earth swallowing people up, and there's a lot of whining and complaining as the Israelites wander through the desert. They have now, after 40 years of wandering, reached the edge of the promised land. They're camped along the river Jordan, ready to cross over, so close to crossing over. And in this first of these two Torah portions, two of the tribes, you remember there are 12 tribes of Israel after the 12 sons of Jacob, and two of the tribes, the tribe of Reuben and the tribe of Gad, make a request of Moses at this point. They ask if they can stay on this side of the Jordan River over the years of wandering and of conquering other peoples, they have amassed huge herds of cattle. And the land on the eastern side of the Jordan River is beautiful, lush grasslands. And they say, you know what, we'd like to stay here on this side of the river. Well, you can imagine, or imagine if you will, Moses, who has spent literally his entire life in the service of this idea of leading the Israelite people into the promised land, right? From the moment, some would say from the moment that his mother put him in the basket in the river way back in Egypt, that he was called to this task. But certainly from the moment that the burning bush appeared to him out in the wilderness and said, Moses, you are the chosen one. You are the one who's going to lead the people out. That he's been working for this goal for his entire life, his entire career. He's now 120 years old. He knows he's going to die. He knows that he doesn't get to go into the promised land because of an incident that happened a few weeks back in our Torah portion. And he feels so duty-bound by this responsibility that he has to lead the people into the land. And suddenly, 2 of the 12 tribes say, I don't think we want to go. So you can imagine how upset Moses is. And he takes it personally. And at first, he pushes back pretty harshly. And we're going to read this section. But he pushes back and says, are you really suggesting that you're going to stay here while your brothers all go in to fight for the land? Because we don't often talk or think about the fact that there are people who live across the river in the promised land, and we've been commanded by God to go in and conquer them, which means going to war, right? And so Moses is like, are you really going to sit this one out? You're really going to stay here and abandon all of your brothers, all of your fellow Israelites, and not go fight? And then he starts to, you know how when you get in a fight with someone that sometimes you dredge something up from way in the past as ammunition to prove that they're wrong? That's what Moses does. He says, just like your fathers did 40 years ago, in the incident with the spies, where the 12 spies went into the land and 10 of them came back and said, no, it's the people who live there are giants. It's too hard. They're going to kill us. We shouldn't go. Let's just go back to Egypt. So Moses says to these Reubenites and Gadites, you're just like your parents who did this thing. And because of that, this entire generation had to wander for 40 years in the wilderness, and they all died. And now you're going to endanger the people of Israel by doing the same thing? By putting doubt into the minds of the people that we can go and we can conquer and we can win and we can occupy this land? And as we talked about in Torah study this morning, the rabbis have all kinds of interesting takes on this, right? Some of the rabbis are like, yeah, Moses is right. These people were greedy. All they were thinking about was themselves. And they even say, when they make their requests, they say, we will build sheepfolds for our cattle, enclosures and places for our cattle, and we'll build cities for our children. That by the fact that they put their cattle and their interest and their wealth and their livelihood ahead of their children, that they were evil and bad and terrible and trying to do bad things. And other commentators are a little more forgiving and say, well, they really were looking out for the good of the people. They said, look, we've already conquered this land over here on this side of the river. Let's hang on to it because it's just going to mean more for everyone. And there's this real interesting negotiation that happens, a back and forth between Moses and the Reubenites and the Gadites. And ultimately they get to a place where they reach a compromise, and everyone doesn't get everything that they want, but people get what they need. Some of you know that one of my go-to sources for Torah commentary is Lord Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, who was the, may he rest in peace, who was the chief rabbi of Great Britain for many, many years, an amazing, prolific writer. And he talks about how one of the greatest tasks of any leader is conflict resolution, is managing conflict. And that this episode in Matot really, two things. Number one, even though Moses doesn't do a perfect job of it, that Moses manages this conflict in a way that works out for the best. And number two, that this is one of several incidents that happen right at this time in our Torah that really show that after wandering for 40 years, after all the experiences, all the heartbreak, all the pain, all the suffering that the people of Israel have been through, that they are starting to come together and that they're getting very close to being ready emotionally, physically, spiritually, in every way to move into the promised land. Of course, they blow it once they get there, right? We know that as soon as they cross over, they start doing the things they're not supposed to do and not doing the things that they're supposed to do, and the prophets come along and warn them, oh, you're going to get in big trouble and someone's going to come and conquer you and kick you out of your land. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. In the year 586, the Babylonians come along and destroy the temple in Jerusalem and exile everybody to Babylonia. But back here, they are learning, they are growing. This process, someone in Torah study this morning said, why did they, if you look at the map, they went up, they went around, and they only had to go from here to here. And if they had just gone in a straight line, it would have taken days or maybe weeks. Why did it take 40 years? Well, it was a process. They had to learn, they had to grow, they had to go through all these experiences and become a people. And that's where we are right now, is that they are learning to become a people. And Moses is teaching them how to negotiate, how to balance, how to find out what it is that you need and what it is that we need, and how we're going to make that work together. So, we're reading from, this morning I'm going to read from Matot, the first of our Torah portions, and it is this section where we are talking about this negotiation. Speaking of journeys, part of my journey here at Temple as part of the clergy team has been learning to chant Torah. And this is really the first time I'm going to give it a shot, so see how this goes. Let's start with the blessing, though. We should all do the blessing together. All right, here we go. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach, Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam va'ed, Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch ata Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Umiknei rav. Haya livnei Ruvain, v'livnei Gad atzum meod, v'yiru et aretz, Ya'azer ve'et eretz Gilad, v'hinei hamakom, makom mikneh, v'yavo'u b'nei Gad u'v'nei Reuven, v'yomru el Moshe ve'el Elazar hakohen, ve'el Nisi'eh ha'edah lemor, Atarot v'divon, Vayazer v'nimra, v'cheshvon, v'elela, usvam, unevo, uvon. Haaretz asher chika Adonai lifnei Adad Yisrael, Eretz mikneh hi v'la'avadecha mikneh. Vayomru im matzanu chen be'enecha, yutan et haaretz hazot la'avadecha la'achuza al ta'avirenu et hayarden. Vayomer Moshe lifnei Gad v'livnei Ruvain ha'achechem yavo'u lemilchama ve'atem teshvu po v'lama tinu'un et lev b'nei Yisrael me'avor el haaretz asher natan lachem Adonai ko asu avotechem bishalchi otam mikadesh barnea lirot et haaretz ve'ya'alu ad nachal eshkol ve'yiru et haaretz Vayanu et lev b'nei Yisrael levilti bo el haaretz asher natan lahem Adonai vayichad af Adonai b'yom hahu vayishava lemor im yiro ha'anashim ha'olim Mitzrayim mibein esrim shana v'mala et ha'adama asher nishbati la'Avraham li'Yitzchak u'Yakov ki lo milu acharai. Bilti Kalev ben Yefuneh Haknizi V'Yehoshua bin Nun Ki milu acharei Adonai Vayichar af Adonai b'Yisrael Vayiniem b'Midbar Avraham arba'im shana ad tom kol hador ha'oseh hara be'enei Adonai v'hinei kamtem ta'achat avotechem tarbut anashim hata'im lispot od el Haron af Adonai el Yisrael ki teshuvun me'acharav ve'yasaf od lahinahu b'midbar v'shichatam lechol ha'am hazeh. The Reubenites and the Gadites owned cattle in very great numbers, noting that the lands of Jazer and Gilead were a region suitable for cattle. The Gadite and Reubenite leaders came to Moses, Eleazar the priest, and the chieftains of the community and said, all these place names, Atarot, Dibon, Yazer, Nimrah, Heshbon, El Elah, Sebam, Nebo, and Beon, the land that the Eternal has conquered for the community of Israel is cattle country, and we, your servants, have cattle. It would be a favor to us, they continued, if this land were given to your servants as a holding. Do not move us across the Jordan. Moses replied to the Gadites and the Reubenites, are your brothers to go to war while you stay here? Will you turn the minds of the Israelites from crossing into the land that the Eternal has given them? That is what your fathers did when I sent them from Kadesh Barnea to survey the land. After going up to the Wadi Eshkol and surveying the land, they turned the minds of the Israelites from invading the land that the Eternal had given them. Thereupon the Eternal was incensed and swore, none of the men from 20 years up who came out of Egypt shall see the land that I promised on oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, for they did not remain loyal to me. None except Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and the Kenizzite, and Joshua, son of Nun, for they remained loyal to the Eternal. The eternal incense that Israel made them wander in the wilderness for 40 years until the whole generation that had provoked the Eternal's displeasure was gone. And now you, a breed of sinful men, have replaced your fathers to add still further to the Eternal's wrath against Israel. If you turn away from God, who then abandons them once more in the wilderness, you will bring calamity upon all the people. Dun, dun, dun. Let's join together in the post-Torah blessing. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah. Amen. While the Torah is still out, we'll take a moment to think of those who are in need of healing. As always, we will sing one verse of the song, and then I'll read a list of names. If you have names to add, either here in person or online, you can say them out loud. You can say them quietly to yourself. You can type them into the chat for those people, names of those people in our lives who are in need of healing. Sheberach avotenu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Today we are holding in our thoughts and in our prayers Zachary Hoffman, David Karner, David Lustig, David Goldenberg, Stuart Myers, Catherine Plus, Jean Silber, Scott Engelender, Stacy Hoffman, Corey Franklin, Brian John Miller, DMD, Phyllis Schulman, Eric Dellenbach, Becky Mitchell, Samuel Ryder, Jeffrey Karras, Hal Malin, Jim Esteby, James Tepper, Cheryl Lunning, Debbie Levy, Donald Gross, Christina Clark, Raymond Bell, Douglas Hamilton, Shanti Hazan, Howard Rosenberg, Deborah Alenikoff, Alex Buznavetsky, Ellie Greenberg, Lori Goldman, Jamie Eidelberg, Larry Ambrose, Mike Kabuti, Laura Culver, Sylvia Goodman, Jerry Luckton, Elaine Wolf, Cindy Friedland, Josh Hepner, Jared Siegel, Ernie Stone, and these others. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofeh HaCholim. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings healing to those in need. Misheberach imotenu mekor havracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. I'll ask you to rise once more as you're able for Hagbah and to return the Torah to the ark. V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe livnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai be'ad Moshe. Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Etz chaim hi lamachazikim ba v'tomcheha meushar deracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha shalom Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh yameinu kikedem. We remain standing for just a moment for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol la'tet gedula liotzer bereshit shelo asanu kigoye haratzot velo samanu kimishpechot ha'adama shelo sam chelkenu kahem vigor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. You can be seated. We take a moment now to remember, because memory is such an important part of what it means to be a people. We recall, I guess there's a thing. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. This week, we recall Sandra Cook, mother of David, Brian, and Craig Cook, who passed away this week. and Betty Mendelson. We remember 3 who died during the past 30 days, Officer Gordon Beasley, John Hurley, and Arlene Robbie. And we remember the many, many people who have been members of our congregation for 147 years, more or less. That's why our Kaddish list is always so long, because our congregation has a long and proud history, and we have many, many people who we recall. These are the people for whom the anniversary of death occurred this past week. Marion Ehrlich Adler, Sheila Akers, Louis D. Albert, Isidore Amter, Esta Bloom Angerer, Raymond Bell, Melvin L. Block, Nate Busoff, Elizabeth R. Bronfin, Emil Cohen, Norman V. Cohen, Willard Cahotis, Marvin Victor Cook, Jack Davis, Marcella Ray Dubin, Nathan P. Feinstein, Ella Francis, Lulu Frankel, Toby M. Freed, George Girell, William Gass, Eliza Gerstel, Nathan E. Goldberg, Alvin F. Goodman, Edward A. Green, Milton D. Goldman, Leonard H. Goldman, Anna Haisner, John Hale, Marcia Heller, Louis Herman, Bertha R. Isaacson, Robert Johnson, Linda Kendrick, Reverend Samuel Crone, Edward J. Lackner, Estelle Lader, Samuel Levy, Hyman A. Markman, Morris S. Mayer, Bess Mayer, Charlotte Milano, Augusta G. Golan Mayer, Leonard Laz Perlmutter, Jack Platt, David Pollock, Lester H. Richard, Rose Richtel, Sadie Rothschild, Samuel Shefflin, Abe M. Schraberg, David Paul Silver, Israel Soloff, David H. Stein, Amy P. Strauss, Dr. Irwin Sunshine, Annie S. Takert, Richard B. Tucker, Edward W. Tuft, Lester Weinshank, Jacob L. Wolf, Elaine Takert Zone. And we also add to this list 10 of the 420 Jews of the town of Kolín in the former Czechoslovakia, for whom this chapel and this furniture stands as an everlasting memorial. Frantiska Extinova, Julie Extinova, Stella Extinova, Malva Era Feldova, Carol Ehrlich, Hugo Ehrlich, Karl Ehrlich, Adolf Eisler, Bohumil Eisner, and Flora Eisnerova. Are there other names of people that we are remembering today? If you are in a 30-day period of mourning, I invite you to rise as you are able, as we prepare for Kaddish. If you are in a 1-year period of mourning, remembering someone who passed away in the previous 12 months, I invite you to rise as you are able. And if you are observing a yahrzeit on this Shabbat, I invite you to rise. And as is our tradition here at Temple Emanuel, we all now rise together in solidarity as we recite together the words of Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah b'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shlam rabbah le'olam u'l'amei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudisha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran b'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen. Oseh shalom, shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. You can be seated. Just a few announcements. Somewhere. Okay, it's here somewhere. I will find it. We continue to ask that people register for services so that we keep increasing our capacity little by little. I think we're up to 150 in the tent right now on Friday evenings. And I think we're still at about 30 for Shabbat morning. But you all have done a great job of registering for services. It's not. I printed it. I'm going to keep looking. But we'll continue to ask people to register. I know what the announcement said anyway. I don't need no stinking announcement sheet. I'll find it right after the service. You know I will. Where was I? Tent Talks. Thank you, Lori. We have a series. We've already had one, and we are picking up again this Tuesday night with what we call Tent Talks. This coming Tuesday at 7 p.m. will be Scott Levin, who is the regional director for the Anti-Defamation League, who will be speaking about the unfortunate resurgence of anti-Semitic activity in our country. It'll be really interesting. We will have a series of these tent talks outside in the tent at 7 on Tuesdays, including Cheryl Glubach, who is a part of our anti-racism task force. That is a project that we've been underway with. And I can't... Yes, Reverend Amanda Henderson, who has been very involved in interfaith work in our community and is a good friend of ours here at Temple, participates with us every year in our Thanksgiving Interfaith Community Service, which is a really lovely event. So great series of talks. That will be for the next 3 weeks. And then we are into the month of Elul, which is the full month period leading up to the High Holy Days. And beginning in Elul, we will have 4 weeks with the clergy. Rabbi Black, Rabbi Hyatt, Cantor Sachs, and myself will each lead a session to help us get prepared for the High Holy Days, which are now, I hate to say, less than 2 months away. Monday, September 6th is in the evening of Labor Day. The Labor Day holiday is Rosh Hashanah. So aside from a little bit of panic setting in, we are moving toward the high holidays and preparing. You also, if you're a member of Temple, you will have received an email very recently with a lot of detail about the High Holy Days and what our plans are. We're very excited about welcoming people back to our newly refurbished sanctuary, which is not quite ready, but it will be in time, God willing. And so there's a lot of information there, and there will be much more to come. Anything else I missed? Okay. Wonderful. I want to thank our tech crew this morning, who always does a wonderful job of making me look and sound good, and making sure that everyone, both here in person and online, can participate fully in our service. I want to thank all of you for your participation and for your beautiful singing voices. We will conclude with a prayer for peace. Oseh shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Yalai lai 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 yalai lai 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 yalai lai 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 yalai lai 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 yalai lai 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 oseh shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Turn to the camera, wave. Shabbat shalom to everyone out there. We'll see you again next week. Have a wonderful Shabbat.